Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Universal View. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, Jarrel, seeker, wave shower, intergalactic shaman, metaphysical practitioner, and an esteemed colleague of mine. Today, we're just going to be having a conversation about our unique spiritual journeys, and we'll be touching on the topic of timeline healing and quantum sublimation. Let's get right into it. How you doing, Jarrel?
I'm doing, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm so happy to be here. That was quite the introduction. It felt good. It feels good to be on your show. I feel like a lot of the times it's like the other way around. We're always trying to make a project. But like it's kind of cool to be on like a guest on somebody else's platform. It feels good.
Well, yeah, man. I think you've got a lot to share, and we were just discussing how our unique spiritual journeys led us to a point where we realized that it's not something you can just like throw at people. Like you need to be open about it and receptive to people coming to you and realizing that they're vibrating at a certain frequency. But it's definitely something I think most people have to learn is how you approach people with your information and your insight. There's a gentle way you do it, and some people aren't even ready for it, and that's a thing you have to accept within yourself. We were just talking about this now, and yeah, that's what we're on.
Yeah, I definitely encountered that in my awakening. When I awakened to like the high metaphysical in like early, or I guess like mid 2019, like before like I started getting all the downloads and stuff, and I didn't quite understand what I was experiencing. And so I couldn't do anything besides tell everyone else. Like, because overall, like my baseline, like I'm a pretty reclusive kind of guy. Like I like my personal space. But when I started getting this information, I had some personal loss going on in my life. So I had to branch out to like people that I normally wouldn't have, that don't know like me on a very deep level, but I felt like I connected with them like throughout my life. And as I started to awaken to the metaphysical side of things, I remember not feeling so secure in my beliefs, because when you're getting new information, your belief structure is being shaken to the core when you're awakening. And so because of my insecurities, I was constantly trying to talk about these things and like trying to understand what's going on. And I realized that throughout that time, like multiple things happened. One, like I got extra confused because I wasn't owning my journey by like me talking with everyone about it and like trying to kind of project it onto the collective, because like from where I was, like I felt like I didn't matter, like my me didn't matter, and that everything was in the collective space, if that mattered, if that makes any sense. So like the things that I was experiencing, like downloads and dreams and everything else, I felt like was pertained to the whole collective. And later I did find out that it does fractally, but in that beginning, I felt like I was an observer on a collective experience, and that just kind of like shows how fast that awakening kind of pushed me out of my sense of self. And it kind of forced me to do a lot of research on myself and in the metaphysical, and use the analogies um, that I was equipped with throughout my life to fully like decode like what's going on with my perception of self and what's going on with my perception around me. And yeah, I was explaining to Tyron that during this journey, I've had some friends that I feel like I've pushed my journey onto, in a sense, like because they didn't understand what I was going on about. Like I would still talk about it, but like I sounded like a madman. Like I'm sure of it. Like now looking back, like especially if I didn't know how to explain what I was going through, I was talking about like multiple personalities and multiple dimensions and different worlds and experiences and past lives. and I didn't have a formal structure to explain what I was going through. And so like it sounded even more ungrounded. And I think that that's where like religions actually really kind of help us kind of get together and explain certain things, because it's kind of like a basic spiritual language in which you can convey like the metaphysical to the physical. And because I didn't really subscribe to one religion, I feel like my brain told me in a million ways at once what was going on. And so I had to like do this gambit of going through like all the religions and figuring out like what all of them had to say and then what it meant to me, and then to own my own journey. And then I also had to spend a long time by myself to realize that like, no, like not everybody is getting the same journey. Like everyone has a journey. There's definitely people getting it because there are people I've connected with that understand the spiritual, but not everyone is going down the same path as you. And and it has and they're all fine. Like everyone is okay. And you know, when you're going through the spiritual awakening, you know, coming out of duality, you're like, dude, if you don't understand this shit, you're going to hell. Like, and I want to help you. I don't want you to go I like you. Like, you got to understand this stuff. But really, that was me. That was me looking into a mirror of myself, saying that, hey, like you, like me, I need to understand this. I was literally talking to myself while projecting on to other people, and I had to spend some time to apologize, because like even though like I feel like I believed the right things and like it was right for me, I don't think it was right for me to kind of like just like it was good to share, but it wasn't right to like how to explain, like I don't know, like to introduce all that stuff to everyone all the time. If that makes any sense. I didn't have an off switch, like because my awakening, I didn't have anyone else, like there was nothing else going on in my life at that time besides like moving and starting over, and so all the new stuff was just a lot. I don't know. Have you had an experience like that, Tyron? Like what happened with you?
I relate so strongly to everything you're saying right now. I had a phase where it was just beginning to click. It's like an awakening. That's it. You start to have downloads, something in your soul contract. Like you decided, okay, when I am this amount of like spiritual development, then everything starts to make sense. And this is something we see in a lot of mystical studies, is that it's got a cumulative effect. Your spiritual development has a cumulative effect. So what that means is it's going to be a little bit and a little bit over a long period of time, little bit, and then just one day it's going to be everything. And it's going to be like, oh, wow, just like everything snaps into place. And you know, it makes sense. You wake up. And for a lot of people who go through that experience, your first thing is going to be to just want to tell everyone. And it's a big realization knowing that not everybody's ready to hear that. I mean, my God, I understand how you separated yourself from that equation and experienced it as a collective shift, because that's exactly the same way I experienced it. I thought, oh my God, this isn't just happening to me. This is my entire reality, and everybody involved in my immediate reality is going through what I'm going through now. And it took a lot of self-reflection to realize that this is a very unique and very personal experience, and that everybody is going through their own unique journey, and that the reality we're experiencing is school. And I'm just at that resonance frequency where I'm ready to receive more information. And yeah, that period of self-reflection is really big, because you're gonna just wanna open up to everyone, and not everybody's gonna be receptive to that. However, there are going to be instances in which someone does resonate with what you're saying, and you'll benefit from those experiences. But it takes a lot of insight, a lot of owning your own journey to be aware of those very, very special people in your life who you can connect with. And you come to realize how healthy it is to have your personal, metaphysical, spiritually minded community that you can open up to and share with. And yeah, my question for you is, when did you start to realize that people were coming to you? Like, when did you realize that you don't need to necessarily go out and seek the people who connect with you? When did you realize that those people start to come to you? Like, you're like this beacon, or this, you start attracting people who just match your frequency.
There was definitely a certain time where, well, first I had to get out of the city. Like, first things first, I had to get out of Florida. Though I love that place, and I'm sure there's plenty of starseeds out there, I wasn't plugged into Florida. So like I was there, but I wasn't there. And that was because like I didn't have a lot of roots there, and I had just gotten out of the Air Force. So I had like no clue who I was as a person. So leaving Florida and coming to Arkansas, that big change of scenery like really helped me shift my mindset on how much people knew. Like, I think it actually really like freed me, like it opened my mind, because I knew that people in the country know different things than people in the city, and their mentalities are completely different. And I realized like how ingenious like a lot of these like more country people are. Like they're really smart, but only at like certain things. Like they've had their specialties. And when I started to apply that lesson to to the spiritual, I started to realize that, oh snap, everyone's learning magic, but they're all learning their own magic. And and like it stopped me from being this like, hey, did you know this and this, to try to be heard by everybody. And instead I started to listen to everyone. Like I started to pick up the mentality of that, like, if you want to be heard, you need to listen first. And once I switched that, then people started coming to me. That's when I started the podcast, and I started listening more and more. I definitely used that as an avenue to reach out to my spiritual community. And once I found a home, once I found a collection of people that can accept like me and what's going on, and just like I could just be able to talk to about it, because this stuff is hard to process by yourself, man. And you will, like, that's the thing. Once you started clearing out like people who are not ready to accept that information for a little bit, it's not that you're clearing them out your life forever. You're just getting space, because you're it's like going to a different class period when you're a kid. He's got art class, you got math, okay? So you're not gonna go and talk to the artist about math stuff right now, because he doesn't give a fuck. Like, I'm sorry, like you can't convince him, because he's there for his school, and that's something I had to realize, that like not everybody wants to learn what I'm learning, but I want to learn everything that everyone's learning. I'm so interested. So that started shifting a lot of things for me. Once I became a listener, a lot of people came to me, and they started sharing their stories with me, and I started to see the magic through their eyes, like their magic through their eyes. And I started to see it more and more. It was kind of like a developing photo. I started to see how the magic school of Earth actually functions. And I realized that like I find it beautiful. Like the types of magic that we have on this earth, guys, is the type of magic that works all in synchronicity, all at the same time. And we're all being magical right now. We're all doing the thing that we're magical at doing. And the thing is, like, we're all learning to find that passion within ourselves. And then through the harsh environment, quote unquote, that is Earth, that's you kindling that flame of want, of desire to become or to create this thing into existence. And you really only fail at this school when you stop pursuing your dreams and loves. And that's when you fall into like your desk jobs and your things. But the things, we all have to experience contrast too. So like those desk jobs, that's important. Like when I was in the military, like I didn't necessarily love what I was doing, but that contrast was integral to being able to accept what's going on with me right now, and the place that I have like amongst my peers, and in reality, and as a whole for me. And if it wasn't for that contrast, I wouldn't be as grateful. You see what I mean? Like I need a high amount of humbleness and to feel what it's like to be alone for a very long time. And and to just so I can come back to everyone and really appreciate everything and not feel like, I don't know, like that's another thing. Like in the service, I feel like my stories are kind of dark. So like there's some people that I feel like can't handle. Like I don't want to bring that into their world by talking about my war experiences. But that also lets it so that I can come into a conversation and be like, dude, I want to hear all about you, not me. And then that opens you up for such a bigger learning experience. And then you open yourself up to teach learning that way, because now you're learning from them, and you're not teaching your past to them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think there's just a whole lot to be said for being open and receptive and authentic. The minute you
Yeah.
genuine, like the minute you start to act in alignment with your purpose for being, like if planet Earth is a school, which it is, and you're here for a purpose, the moment you start to act and move in alignment with that purpose is the moment you can be genuinely authentic. And that means when you speak to people, you create an atmosphere for knowledge. You literally create the medium for knowledge to start to be interchanged. And that's what you need for teach learn. A big part of
Yeah.
my own personal journey was realizing that even though I'm going through this huge awakening, there's always going to be things to learn. No matter how much you think you know, that you will always need to grow and develop and change and improve. And a big aspect of that is being authentic and genuinely listening and being open, letting know that when people are communicating with you and being open to you, that you're receptive to that, acknowledging that I see you. Literally, the term namaste means the spirit in me sees the spirit in you, connecting
Mm.
at that heart level, saying that that our individuality is what unifies us. And I acknowledge that we're aspects of the same consciousness and that all of reality is harmonious. It's completely synchronistic. And that's beautiful. And when you connect with people in an authentic way, you acknowledge that. And acknowledging that, it sets the stage for positive things to materialize in your life.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Also, like you actually hit something that made awakening so much funner for me. When I realized that everyone is kind of going through their own school, and that means that they're kind of like a teacher of their own subject, and then that means like all your friends are your teachers, and all your family, they're all teachers. And then if you can kind of grasp what kind of school they're supposed to be teaching you, then like I don't know, I get like my brain, I have an overactive imagination and I love it. But my brain like overlays things. So like I will like, okay, so one of my friends, he's kind of a country guy. He actually works for a construction place called, like, I think it's like Hillbilly Construction. And like the guy has such a vibrant personality to him that he reminds me of like a satyr. And so like when I see him, I can't help but like see it. Like I can't I picture a hillbilly, but I picture a satyr, and I just see this magical being that is like one of my best friends. And I tell him, I'm just like, dude, you're like the coolest thing. And like I don't know if he sees. I can only wonder how people see me. I probably look weird as hell. Like, but yeah, like once I started to realize that everybody had their own school, and they all come from like these weird, different, like archaic backgrounds. If you really look and you know all the different languages, you can start to decode that like what reality they're perceiving. And when you do that, you start to see more of it in them, and it's a lot of fun. That's just my overactive imagination.
No, that's cool. I mean, you see the magic in people, and that's beautiful.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
people respond to that when you do that. Like you, I know for a fact that when you look at me, you see the magic in me, and I know that you do, and it's nice. It's a great feeling to be seen, to be acknowledged, and the fact that you can make the effort to do that is always going to be appreciated.
yeah. Thanks, bud. Like, yeah, I definitely do see it. Like, that's the thing. Like once I started to realize that everyone was going through their own thing, and like the perceptions of reality for everyone is different. That's when I started to realize that the only reason why I see things the way I see them is because I'm in a certain type of school. But that doesn't mean I can't change the way I see reality by seeing through someone else's eyes, by listening, by actually seeing them for who they are.
Yeah,
And when you're trying to perceive that magic of someone, like they just come to life. Like I don't know how to explain it, because like instead of like seeing someone as you see them, you're like, oh, well, I like that thing, or I don't like that thing, or blah blah blah. But when you're seeing this the spirit of someone, when you're seeing the magic of someone, like you're taking everything, like the good, the bad, the follies, the all of it,
yeah,
and you're applying that as like you're encountering them as a singularity,
yeah.
and you're just like, whoa, you're marvelous. Like even if I don't agree with all your decisions, like the fact that you're here is marvelous.
Yeah,
And like I talked to a lot of friends that have gone through like a lot of drug abuse situations and have overcome it. And like they deal with a large amount of people kind of judging them based on their outer appearance. And I don't function that way. And and I feel like those people wind up being some of your best friends when you truly see them for who they are. They like it like shatters their attachment to that past, like I don't know, cycle in a way. Like you're giving them space to be something other than what they are,
that's
perceived as in other people's world. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I do know.
And
Yeah, because
and they
like
just step up and they
yeah,
step into your reality as like the shining like warrior that they are. And it's freaking cool. Like I have so many like badass warrior friends. Like
yeah, you touched on something really important. A big aspect of finding the people who you genuinely connect with, your soul family, is that being seen in the way that you're honestly projecting yourself allows you to break old patterns, to dissolve past traumas, and genuinely change. Like you can make
yeah,
the effort within yourself to want to be different and better. And when the people who know how to see that actually do see that, it's like, wow, I can change. I can be better. Here's here's a group of people who actually see the work that I'm putting in for myself to be a better person or to improve. And that just accelerates the process. It really does. It's just like harmonic frequency acceleration, collective ascension right there.
yeah. Well, I think a large part of it has to do with validation.
Yeah.
Because we have the potentiality to do anything, what I mean, and be anything. And but the thing is, like, we still need people to validate each other. That's what makes us a collective. And
Well,
so,
I think you need the right people to validate the work you're doing. But
yeah,
let's say like first you need to validate yourself. And
yes, yes.
then then that like the people who can see that you're actually acknowledging yourself are the ones
Mhm.
who accelerate that validation.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me clean up my words a little bit. So when you're first stepping out of duality, like that's when I'm talking about. That's when you feel like you need some validation. Like that's when you start searching for your soul family,
Yeah.
and because you're gonna look for that validation in others and realize that you're not gonna get it, and then it's gonna force you to look in places, and then you're gonna be alone for a while, and
Yeah.
then you're gonna validate yourself, and then your soul family comes. Like that's the process of it,
That is the
and that
process.
shit sucks, but it also is great.
It's what makes you look within. You need to
Yes.
that's what you need to do first. You need to realize yourself, and then you get to realize others. Because
Yeah.
out of duality, into like unity consciousness, then you start to realize, wow, okay, these beings are an aspect of my own consciousness. And I wouldn't really know that if I hadn't gone into myself, gone deep within myself. Self-reflection. So important. It's so important. Your spiritual journey is very, very personal. And when you get to a point where you can share that with people, it's special. It really is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just now getting to the point where I can start to share where my soul's journey has been, and that's been my Instagram and like all the work we've been doing together in the podcast and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like as I'm talking about it, like my soul is literally healing the past stuff. Like it has to be like played out. I've noticed like one of the big things that occurred to me during this awakening is that like the stuff, the journey, the past lives of our souls, we have like a quantum like mirroring of those events like in the micro of our lives right now. And so like the things that you are experiencing in your life are like a micro synchronicity of the things that your soul experienced. And we are the combination of all those things. And so like the more into your soul aspects you kind of feel into, and the more you can kind of reflect back on your life and be like, hey, like, you know, okay, for instance, like I went to the military, like there's war in my soul story. You know what I mean? Like my like, and I drew it and I didn't understand it, but I didn't understand why I had to experience what I did in the military until I started to open up to understanding, oh, because my soul has gone through war. Like my soul has tasted that before.
Yeah.
And it's healing those aspects of itself.
Yeah.
But by me having to go through like a micro version of it, it's allowing me to incorporate that genetic history into myself. And by accepting it and overcoming it, like that's that DNA unraveling within me and claiming my genetic heritage. And we all have these things, and that's the reason why we have the traumas that we do, especially in our early lives, because we don't choose that stuff. That's a soul choice. And claiming it is us going back and overcoming those situations. And so like by looking back, it's like we're just unopening all these presents for ourselves. But it takes a certain amount of self-work to get to a point where you're ready to go backwards, because you have to go forward to go backwards. So, you know, it's all depends on where you're at.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I mean, you need to work through the things, and you need to be at a certain mental state before you can do that. And that takes personal work. When you get to that point, then you can start to dissolve past traumas and relinquish old patterns that no longer serve you. And you know what? I think we're touching on a very important subject. I know we're going to get into quantum sublimation and timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to talk about metaphysical mind treatment as well. And let's, like, when you think about all of these healing modalities, the thing that needs to be taken into consideration is exactly what we're talking about now. And that's the fact that this world we're living in is a school, and everybody is having their own unique experience. And when you have the ability to treat people from a metaphysical perspective, it's so important that you get permission first. Let's touch on that, how important it is that you get permission. Because I know when I found out that I could heal people, my first instinct was to just help everybody. But then I realized, well, maybe this person's going through a certain thing because that's part of their reason for incarnating in this dimension of experience. They're learning a lesson. And I had to come to the conclusion within myself and realize, well, okay, I'm not going to go and just force healing on a person. I'm going to make the option available and say, this is something I can do. I'd be happy to do it for you, but you need to come into the realization within yourself that it's something you need, because that's part of your soul journey, your lesson.
That was actually, that was a big lesson for me too, because I've always kind of had that savior complex as a kid because of my family situation.
Well, yeah,
I was always kind of trying to help somebody,
you
and
don't want to see
so,
people hurting.
huh?
You never want to see anybody hurting, but
Yeah,
you need to grasp that maybe that person needs to learn something from that experience, and maybe it doesn't
yeah.
have anything to do with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One of the biggest things that helped me was learning to mind my own business. And, but once I realized that I could do that, which is like literally that the universe has got that person no matter what. They're going through their lessons.
Yeah,
When they reach out to you, that's when it's time to turn it up. Like that's, but you have to wait for the touch. Like you can't start running the race before you've been tagged in. And I feel like there are certain parts of my life where I definitely started running that race before I was asked to. And that just made me have to do more stuff. And then the thing is, like, you're not healing anyone, you're healing yourself. Like the only time that like you're actually doing any healing work is when someone finally connects with you by allowing you to help and work together. But the thing is, from the perspective of a healer, you're seeing yourself in that person and you're
yeah,
healing an aspect inside of you that's inside of them that's
yeah,
coming to you to be healed. So
yes,
like it's not that you're like, I am a healer and I'm going to go and sprinkle fairy dust on you and you're going to be better. It's like, yo, you've acknowledged the pain in you and you've come to me, but I realize that everyone is a reflection of me. So you are a reflection of me coming to me to be healed. And
yeah,
I am ready to heal that part of me.
yeah,
Thank you for being here.
yeah,
Let's get to work. And that's the beginning of quantum sublimation. Like
yeah.
that's the first step.
It's so true because it's literally you're facilitating it in acknowledgement of the fact that the higher consciousness aspects of yourself and this other person are in complete agreement. And
Yeah.
it's like it's a channeling. You're just creating the space for it to happen. But it's yeah, that's it exactly. So good, so good.
When once you get the permission and you start opening up and you start to connect, like you feel it, man. Like especially if you're like a very empathic type of person, like you start to, it's almost like, no, I don't have a good analogy right now. Just when two things get real close, they feel it.
Well, yeah, it's like you start to harmonize at the same frequency. I find
Yeah,
my
resonance.
personal experience like that realization that we're both aspects of the same consciousness, it becomes super clear in that instant. And you're right,
Yeah,
a mutual thing. Just like teach learning is a mutual thing. It's like the healing is happening on all levels for everybody involved.
yeah. Because as a healer, that person that's coming to you to get healed is also, like I said, they're a teacher and they're a healer in their own aspect, and
Yeah,
so they're coming to you with a facet of yourself.
yeah,
Um, and healings aren't fast. Like that all depends on how well you guys resonate and connect with what you're trying to deal with. The more you kind of acknowledge your soul resonance in both of you, the quicker you guys can kind of like overcome some of the past stuff. But within quantum sublimation, with my technique that I like to use, I like to put people under like a light guided meditation. I kind of I don't like to use the words hypnosis because I'm not qualified. But I definitely, and plus I feel like they're in complete control. Like you can open your eyes and you can talk about it, but really we're throwing you into a memory. And the way that our mind perceives memory is actually no different than perceiving, like it's no different than traveling to the past. Just because we perceive time linearly, that's actually not the truth of it. And so when you say the magic words like I remember, that's actually in your brain starts to activate the visual senses of a memory that you're now embodying. That's you actually being there. But people don't acknowledge that experience. But in quantum sublimation, we do acknowledge that, hey, like we are going back.
Yeah.
And when you talk about these memories, like we're going back there, but you're not going alone,
Yeah.
because I'm here with you and
Yeah.
you're here with you. And we're also calling in my soul team, we're calling in your soul team, and then we go and we go to that event, and we all give love to the person that's going through the that event. The quantum sublimation is not there to change the past in a sense that we're going to change the outcome. Well, in a sense we are, but we're not changing what happened. We're changing, we're continuing the story.
Yeah.
Um, and so by going back and revisiting a past trauma through quantum sublimation, by going there with a practitioner or with yourself, and giving love to an aspect of yourself that is going through a trauma at that time, you are making a time, like a specific time for self-love, and you're converting that trauma into a point of overcoming in self-love. Like, it's no longer like something bad happened to me as a kid and then I grew up and it changed my life in negative ways. It's that happened and then my life changed, but then also I sought self-help, and then I went back in time and I loved myself, and then it creates like a circle. It's like a circular timeline for a second, and it alters everything, because your body, your very core of you is a soul story. Like, you are a story, a walking story.
Yeah.
And when you go back to your story, your pages, your chapters like that, and you make edits and you love yourself, you're reaping the rewards of overcoming that trauma, because no longer is that like a part of victimhood. You are now taking that as a badge of honor. Like, I've survived. Like, I needed that to be where I'm at right now, to have this moment of self-love, to sit here and connect with somebody on a soul level about this event. Like, this event is the reason why I'm connecting with someone on a soul level, on this very deep and intimate communication. And then you realize, because usually when you're going through traumas, the worst part about it is that we feel so cut off and alone. We feel cut off from source. Like, that's the reason why we have the trauma in the first place. But when you go back to the trauma and you're not alone, like, that's proving to yourself that you were never alone. Like, literally, it's like creates a time paradox in a way, and it heals. And it proves to yourself that you were never alone.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you make a habit of doing this, now this is in the future after the session, you've been equipped with these tools. You've now experienced it in your world. You can do this yourself. You don't need a practitioner. It works though. It helps when you have a practitioner because you're sharing. But when you now start to incorporate these tools into your life and do it on a daily or on a weekly, you're now making a trend where your future self goes to your past and loves you, which means your current right now is being loved by your future self. And by making it a habit, you're constantly in love with yourself, protecting yourself as you're going through everything in your life. And it starts to give a new meaning to all the hardships that you go through in your linear sense. Because you're like, yo, that just means that this is something I'm about to collect something about this. Like, I'm learning. and I know that I'm going to make it through this because I'm going through it right now. And I know that there will be a time where I'm on the other side of this, praying for the time that I'm going through it right now. And you build this communication with your future self. After a while, you'll be able to just contact that person. Like, you can pray to your future self. Once you make these connections, it becomes easier and easier. And you will truly understand that you are not alone. And this can be affected, this could help anyone in their journey, no matter what part of of ascension they're in. If you can understand this one aspect of self-love and reaching back, it will make all your lessons so much easier. And it's something you can do for free. And it feels really good.
Yeah, there's so much to be said for the way you respond to things, just in everyday life. The fact that you can choose how you respond to certain events really affects how you develop as a result of those events. And through quantum sublimation, you're able to change your response to certain traumatic events and sublimate those things and dissolve them away And I know, having done this and experienced it, like you've done this for me, I know that those patterns start to fade away, and it creates a lot of room for growth and development and and positive change. Now, let's just, can I discuss like a brief, let's say, just go over like the notion upon which quantum sublimation is based, because I think it's super fascinating and I really want to get into it.
Yeah, please share. Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, okay, cool. There's all right, so in metaphysics, we understand that the universal medium transcends space-time and location distances. Basically, like when you get to a point where you're vibrating at a high enough frequency, you realize that it's always now, that time, that reality occurs simultaneously, and it's not linear. And you have an understanding of this when you dream, and you can just go back into the past or go into the future and wake up the next day and have deja vu because you've been there. So the notion that that time can be folded in on itself is pretty easy to understand when you are in deeper states of meditation. Now, this this understanding is something I've used in my own personal practices to connect remotely with people. And like if someone's in another country, I'll harmonize with them and connect with them. And that's just the space in which the treatment is facilitated. And what I'm fascinated with is your application of this notion to take that a step further and use this innate truth to dissolve past traumas in people, to literally go back in time, kind of, and dissolve past traumas. And I think that's just a really fascinating application of the understanding that the fact that we're all one consciousness means that you don't need to observe linear time and location distances. It's here and it's now.
Yeah, it's remote. It's weird. It's well, the thing is, it's only weird because we because we don't we it's new to us.
Yeah,
I can't wait until this becomes the norm.
yeah,
I feel like once the collective, like, and this is so important that we're even making this video. Like once this becomes on the collective spotlight, we will start to acknowledge the fact that we have always been outside of time. Like the numbers
yeah,
on the clock are just that.
yeah,
And we are truly free to spread our wings and be anywhere in any time in any magical place that we want. We do this on so many different levels. When we watch TV, when we have conversations with our friends, when we dream, when we read books,
yeah,
it's we have this thing called a one point consciousness where wherever we focus on is where our timeline is going. So it's really important to keep track of where you're putting your attention and what you want in your world.
yeah,
And with quantum sublimation, it's one of those things where there are times in our lives, especially in the beginning, where we were ignorant to these truths. So we have to come back. We have to snake around, we have to put our consciousness back on the past so that we can shed light on it, and then therefore be more of us in the present.
yeah,
And it's one of those things. And on top of that, you make so you become infinitely closer with whoever you're doing this with. Because when you're truly hearing somebody during a quantum sublimation session, the healer or the facilitator definitely feels like they're there with you. Like if they're truly empathizing with you, they're gonna feel like they're there. They're gonna feel it, smell it, taste it, and you will, like, as a person being healed, you will feel like someone was there with you.
yeah.
And it changes things.
It really does.
It changes a lot.
Yeah, you go there. It
Yeah.
genuinely happens. It's one thing to do like a visualization in meditation, and that requires your imagination. And in many senses, that's very, very real. But I would just like to emphasize how real this experience is. You go to that event and you dissolve that past trauma, and it does affect you in a very beneficial way. Um, how do I say this? Usually, I like to use affirmative meditation, and I feel like quantum sublimation and affirmative meditation can work really, really well for establishing positive new patterns in people's lives. So basically, it just involves putting someone in a deep state of meditation. Again, I'm not good. I'm like you. I don't like the term hypnosis, but yeah, it's a deep state of meditation, and you give affirmations to that person. They affirm something. I am prosperity. I am love. Something positive, and that truth is instilled into the deeper levels of their subconscious mind, and then it starts to surface into like daily life, that truth. And what you're doing is so incredible because you're going into those deeper aspects of the person's consciousness, and you're just dissolving away those patterns that don't serve them, and you're creating room for growth. And I think combining these methodologies can go a long way to bringing just the most significant and tangible, genuine positive change in people's lives.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like when I first started to understand this technique, I feel like I learned a lot of this technique through plant medicines. Because I did a lot of self-work, and like I started my awakening process through a mushroom cleanse, and with psilocybin, that opened up a lot of my old stuck patterns. Because with the holistic medicines, when you take those, they activate certain dormant parts of your brain that get cut off because of trauma. And when they get activated again because of the effects of the mushrooms, they create a space for neurogenesis, so your brain starts to make new connections, which is great for your mental health.
Yeah.
And once that started to kind of shake itself loose, I actually got a prescription for medical marijuana, and I started to take this medical marijuana, and I was wondering, like, hey, they don't really tell you how to use this thing. Like they they just tell you smoke this and you feel better. But people don't understand that like marijuana is actually a very potent healing like tool. And it helps you go back and into deep meditations. It literally helps you travel through time. Like it makes it easier to be there.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of it. That's another thing. I feel like I had to figure out that like I was smoking too much, because if you smoke too much, you vibrate too high, and then you can't do the physical things that you're trying to do, and you're just high. That's what I guess that's what I call it, high. But if you take just a little bit, you can alter your vibration enough to let your conscious mind not have such a hard grip on the possibilities. And that's what marijuana really helped me do, was slowly like let go of the grip of causality. And once I let go of that logic, I was able to like I said, travel backwards and forwards a lot easier than I've ever had to do when I like if I'm doing it baseline, or if I'm doing it like with others. Like if I want to do it by myself, I like to do it with medical marijuana, because I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like marijuana is there with me. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like the energy of the weed, like that is my practitioner at that point. We're using the energy or the essence of that plant is the healing modality that, or the healing facilitator that would facilitate the quantum healing session. These plants, they will heal you better than you think you can heal you. You think you know your past? Smoke some weed and ask it to heal you, and see where it takes you. The thing is, like, you have to realize that you can't control it anymore. Like at that moment, you smoke, You get into your meditative state, and you have to realize that your body is now on autopilot. So you need to talk to it, and you have a smart body. Like just like how you can talk to your phone and it'll take notes, you talk to your body and it's faster than any phone that we have on the market. If you're smoking marijuana, that means the marijuana is now in control of your brain. And you can give it that control, and then you can be like, okay, hey, I want to heal like anything that needs to be healed. Like, do you see anything within me that needs to be addressed? And you get into your meditative spot, and I like to focus on a blank room, like just the white walls all around, and just kind of feel the vibes of the marijuana. And over time, once your brain kind of stops trying to control what you're seeing, the marijuana will start driving you, and you will go places. And it's one of those things where you have to sit down and be like, okay, like this is what I'm seeing. Like you have to allow yourself to see it, and then address it. You have to question yourself. And through that act of questioning, and with the plant medicine, like you're gonna get work done. Like you're gonna come out of the session feeling like $1,000,000. It's even best when it's weed, because you know when it's over, because you'll come back. Like, like I don't know how to explain it. It feels like a train. Like you it's like a train ride. You hop on the train, you tell it where you want to go, and you sit there and you let it drive. And then when you're done, you'll know, because you'll reach some type of catharsis. Like you'll feel it. You've witnessed it. And the biggest thing is you just can't let yourself get distracted. And that's why it's important to do some meditation every day, so that you can really control where you're putting your attention. I feel like a lot of people don't have attention control because of our cell phones and media and all that stuff. Fine tuning where you're putting your attention every day is very important, and it's very easy. But all you have to do is become mindful that that's what you're doing every time you're looking, hearing, speaking. Like all these senses that you're using is engaging with your reality. So you need to make sure that you're focusing all those senses in the places that you want to actually be. It's very important, and it's our currency. Like that's our true money, by the way. I'll go on a tangent on that, but yeah. What do you think? I feel like I talked for a long time. Sorry, you step out the soapbox.
It's okay. I'm really enjoying listening to your understanding, and I think you've touched on something very important.
Mhm.
We need to emphasize the idea of self-care and positive intention when using THC or psilocybin for the purpose of dissolving past traumas. And mindfulness is a big part of that. You need to have the mindset and the positive atmosphere in which doing something like that would genuinely be conducive to your health and well-being. And I think you touched on that very, very clearly, specifically by monitoring your experiences in the way you do. And I know we've got something in the works on this topic, and one of the subjects we're going to touch on is journaling, or more specifically, just being mindful of your experience, noting how using these substances in conjunction with meditation genuinely benefits you.
Yeah, I definitely feel like journaling. Okay, so journaling plus like quantum sublimation with holistic weed. That's what probably really set me off on a journey. Like, you got to keep track of this stuff, guy.
Yeah.
When you're out there, and because the thing is, it's also like dreaming. When you're doing quantum sublimation, your brain almost stores it in that same area. So you have to get used to writing down what happened, so you remember the fact that you did it. We need to write, like, honestly, journaling has been the thing that I think was the most integral part to being able to reassemble all of my soul fragments. And I'm not done all of them, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that I've recorded the parts, especially my hurts in life, in my journals, allowed me to have a portal to go back to when I was feeling those hurts and to heal myself. On top of that, it gives me really good contrast. And you know, like you can't remember everything. You can't. You're not supposed to. That's not how we work. We're not supposed to have a textbook of things that we need to keep in our head at once. We're supposed to be in flow most of our time, and or at least I definitely feel like that for me. I need to be in flow, so I can't keep track of all the shit that I did yesterday. So so I write it all down so that I don't have to keep it in my head. I make sure that, you know, that's another reason why integrating technology is really key right now, because our technologies can help us so that we don't have to keep a lot in our head. Like people keep saying that, you know, oh, you know, you have these technologies and then you're not going to be able to remember things. But the thing is, we're not meant to, not in the way that we think we do. We don't have to carry all this information in our heads anymore. We're literally being freed from our minds. By journaling and you know, you could do this through technology as well. Like you could do cyber journals, you could do blogging. That's what Facebook is. Like that's the thing. Like I dabble in technomancy as well, because I firmly believe that technology is just another part of our internal processes. And I'm not saying that I want to merge myself with like machines or anything. I know that there's a big part of machines that is in my reality and I need to use it type shit. And so what I'm trying to say is, yeah, use all these things, use all these tools to create windows to your past that you can go and revisit, because like you never know when you want to go back there. There's so many important things. Journaling is so important. And the thing is, you can journal in any kind of way. You could write letters, you could scrapbook, you could just collect items. People have collections of items that you store your memories in. We store our memories into so many different things. And that's why it's so important to reflect and know where you keep your memories. Because when you move, say if, you know, you have to go because of a disaster or it's just time to go somewhere, and you're moving all these items, you're actually moving your storage, your mind. And for me at least, I feel like when I did my big move from Florida to Arkansas, I got rid of a ton of things that I kept my memories in. And I felt like there was a large part of my past that I had forgotten. And it took me to go through my old journals and read what had happened, that I realized that I was literally had big gaps in my memory where I had forgotten. And it's not that I needed to know them all at the same time. It's just the fact that thank God I had my journal so I could go back, because I didn't realize how much I missed until I moved. And so what I'm telling you guys is that, like, you store your memories in everything around you. And your phone is actually a really great way to store a lot of memory. And you could do it in your journal. You could do it in phones. Photography is an amazing tool. We store so much. Pictures 1,000 words. Like there's a reason they say that. Hand drawing pictures. There's a reason why the Egyptians drew in hieroglyphics, because they weren't fucking around. They're trying to store as much memory as possible in everything. And I think that's very clever. I didn't understand that until I started to reflect on the reason why I even had journals and notebooks in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's really a really poignant subject to top on and touch on. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can document your unique experience. And I think we just need to place focus on the fact that the reason quantum sublimation is something that we're kind of just emphasizing here is that it's designed for you to be in a space where you can move forward, where you can grow and develop. Because there are people who've had certain experiences that have affected their development and growth. And the entire point of sublimating these traumas is so that you can be more present and in the moment, and so that you can grow and develop harmoniously. Now, I suppose the question that arises from this is, do you find that you have developed and improved as a result of practicing quantum sublimation in your own life? And have you noticed that positive change in the lives of the people who you do this for, your clients?
I've noticed that when I conducted quantum sublimation with friends, family, and clients, that when I go back, it's like you're because okay, so the reason why we even have triggers is because like that's the trauma being surfaced again. That's you're cleaning your mirrors in a way. You're cleaning distortions. And so by going back, I felt like I cleared a ton of distortions. Like I didn't realize how dirty my mirrors were because I was in it. But now that I'm in a better place, a brighter place, a more conscious place, I can take that consciousness, go back, and because we use the same mirrors, and that's why like certain things we see in people like upset us, or make us feel insecure or XYZ. That those are your damaged mirrors. So when you quantum supplement, when you go back and you realize like, oh, okay, like that's the real lesson. Like that's the reason why I feel that way about that subject, or that's like I was hurt, and that's the reason why I get triggered this way. So you got to trace your triggers with quantum sublimation. Once you deal with those triggers, though, when you see it in your world again, it just doesn't reflect the same way. Like it just doesn't. Like the mirror has been cleaned. You're not going to see it the same way. You won't react the same way because it's not the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
But until you clear the old mirrors, like they're going to keep coming back, and it's up to us to it's a personal responsibility. That can be done with friends.
Yeah.
and I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can heal with the people that are closest to you, and then they're gonna feel so close to you after you do it. You know, you've just experienced a point of trauma, and you got to be there for your friend. You know what I mean? That's freaking beautiful. That's a real gift. You know, and it's something that we've always had. We just had to acknowledge that it was happening.
Yeah, that's so true. It's genuinely special. That's something that needs to be that touched on. It's so special. If someone comes to you and requests healing from you, they're making themselves vulnerable. They're opening up to you, and that is a huge responsibility, and it needs to be cherished. It really does, because in that moment, you're the same being.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, you at the end of it, you walk away with traits from them, and they walk away with traits from you. Because it's like I the way I like to see it is like, imagine there's like little fragments missing of the mirror, and they're parts that they're like pieces for your mirror, but also pieces for their mirror. And so like you're trading puzzle pieces with each other, and when you do that, like they get a little piece of you, and it helped fix whatever was going on by being there, by paying attention, by going back to the past, and vice versa. When you share a moment with them, they're giving a piece of their heart to you, and then I feel like I mirror them. Like I feel it. Like when in my life, like I feel like I start channeling like a piece of that person. Like there's many times where I'm like, dude, I feel like I just said a Tyron thing. Like, but I feel like that's a part of me. When I heal with someone, like I feel like I feel like they live like a little piece of them lives through me now.
Yeah.
And I hope and I pray that they have a little piece of me in there, because we all need a little piece of everyone. We all have so much to offer each other.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. I think the overarching theme of this discussion is just how important it is to let go of things that no longer serve you. And quantum sublimation is just a very fascinating way to let go of things that don't serve you anymore. And there's so many ways you can do that. And there we discussed this. I mean, this is a school we're living in. Everybody has their unique journey. But I'm certain that the methodology we're discussing here resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel it too. I feel like these are definitely subjects that need to be talked about right now, especially.
Yeah.
I feel like right now there's a lot of people seeking counseling, where before they never considered it, and it's because of what happened with the coronavirus. It's because of what's happening in our celestial like clocks. It's all the awakening. And now it's time for everyone's stories to be heard. And I feel like that's going to be a big theme of 2022. I'm excited because it's going to be about, you know, people coming together and talking about how, like, what they were doing when the world ended, and like and how was it when you were in the dark ages, you know, and you felt alone. And we're gonna wind up having so many pieces of other people in our lives, like inside of our being, and be connected. We're gonna make this new grid. By quantum sublimating with each other, we're reconnecting like all these strands,
Yeah.
and we're affecting all the things that are affect, like all the other mirrors get fixed when you fix one mirror, it fractals out. And it's a beautiful celebration. It's gonna be awesome. 2022 is gonna be so great, guys. I can't
Well,
wait.
you just, yeah, I mean, the ascension process is literally just the collective quantum sublimation of the entire memory of Earth.
Yeah, and that's gonna be weird.
That's what it is, and it's affecting everybody, and that effect is being realized every day.
Yeah,
I think more
yeah,
prominently in the metaphysical community, but it's definitely like it's changing people. Planet Earth's vibration increasing, past traumas being dissolved in the Akashic records or whatever you want to call it. It's affecting people.
yeah. I definitely see it. I see it. Like it blows my mind how much I see it. Like it's one of those things where, like, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
the reality has gotten very, very malleable, guys. And now when you're ready to accept the controls of your reality and your perspective, um, so many interesting opportunities are going to start showing itself as you once you start to quantum sublimate the past. The rewards of overcoming the past will like magnetically be drawn to you. And the thing is, like, even if you didn't heal all of it, other people will come to you with the rest of it to address. And the thing is, it's gonna be like from a third person perspective. You know, I have so many people that have come to me and requesting healing, and their stories are stories that I've experienced too. Like, I was part of their story, but I was on the other side. Like, it wasn't happening to me. I was just a part of it. And then again, I'm part of it again. I don't know how to explain it. It's so weird and like loopy that that like it blows my mind. And I'm just happy it works. That's my biggest thing. Like, I don't care how bogus it sounds. I'm just so happy that people walk away and I walk away from it feeling more whole than ever. And
Yeah.
it's just the act of connecting with each other.
Well, you know what? It works. You have genuine experiences that validate that it works, your own personal experience and that of multiple clients. And there's metaphysical and scientific information that backs it up really, really well. And I think that it's a practice that needs to be employed more frequently. I know that I'm definitely going to be using this as I move forward. Definitely going to be it.
And since becoming more aware, like since we put a name on it,
Yeah.
actually, that has been the biggest tool, I think, for me to integrating it into my daily life.
Yeah.
Because like once we put a name on it, guy, I was like, okay, I gotta for real like put it to the test. And I've been journaling my life since I was like 13, and I went through all the dark ages of my books, guys, and I quantum sublimated my whole past as much as I could, at least. And I read through it with a fine detail, and I went like I felt like I was experiencing. It was one of the most painful things I had to do. I'm not gonna lie. Like, reading my old journals was like reading. I don't know. Like, it was painful. It was like because I felt like I can feel it, like everything that was going on with my eyes, and so it was like reading sandpaper. Like, it hurt. But after, I felt so raw and tender and happy to be right here, right now in the present, where like it's not bad. And then realizing that it was so important that I went through that so that I can get the contrast to be here right now. So just saying, guys, keeping a journal has been the biggest tool to help quantum sublimation. and it will change your life.
That much is definitely true. And it's incredible the fact that your entire, like a sizable portion of your life is a testament to how effective quantum sublimation is. That's incredible. Like you've been working on this, like maybe unknowingly for a very long time, and now it's finally surfaced.
I think I think that it was a big part of the reason why I was here. Like it
Yeah.
was just a part of my plan. It was a part of the soul plan, you know. I didn't know what I was doing, but I definitely but I definitely figured it out now, at least a part of it. I now see looking back that okay, there was something I was up to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will never stop writing, guys. Like the thing is, if you a few steps in to quantum sublimation and journaling, you can start to make your story into something that you can share with others. On Instagram, I'm sharing my soul story, my soul's journey, and I'm just sharing that for free. But eventually, I would like to make those into like books, and I can like give them to people, and sell it for a small amount of money. Could you imagine if your soul story is the thing that's keeping the lights on in your house? Everyone has the ability to do something along this nature, but it's like harnessing how you want to store your story, and how you would like to present this back to the collective. But the thing is, like, everyone wants to know these things. Like, people want to connect on like a deeper level, like on the deepest level. That's the reason why we love TV so much. We want to see what's going on out there. We love these collective stories. And that's why religions and TV shows and like all these storytelling modalities are so attractive to the human collective, is because we constantly are creating freaking cool stories. And it's okay to make them awesome.
Yeah.
And then share.
Yeah. I think that's,
You become your own hero.
yeah. Being you've made an avenue for yourself to turn what you love to do and your passions and your spiritual work into a career. And I think that again just adds to how valid and incredible this methodology is.
Yeah, I really feel like once you get into the depth of quantum sublimation and journaling and the spiritual journey, you can fuse this all together. And the thing is, you start attracting people that are so talented, that are part of your soul family, that will help you. Like Tyron right now, I'm on his show. Like I don't have to edit this video, but I definitely have to make sure I say the right things. And it is just me sharing my experience.
Yeah.
And by me sharing, it's helping him do the sharing, and it's going to help him keep the lights on one day. And like we're creating almost like this beautiful like tapestry of creation, and it's multi-platform, because it's, I'm not just writing, I'm speaking, I'm drawing, I'm doing a bunch of things. But Tyron is not just writing, he's creating, he's making videos, he's doing things that I don't do. He's making like art journals, or excuse me, academic journals. I can't make an academic journals, I can't spell. Like so like on the for reals, like he's extending my story, pieces of my story, to platforms and realms that I normally wouldn't be able to touch. And it's because of my ability, or my openness to share and connect and to be authentic with him, that I even allow myself to move into these other realms, my story into other realms of understanding, all the way to the academic. Who would have thought? I definitely didn't. And this is me harping on the importance of this work, because quantum sublimation is not just a thing that you do once and then you're done. It's a lifestyle. It's part of the spiritual journey. And it culminates a lot of things. And once you make it a habit, for one, you're gonna realize that you are always full of so much creativity, because your brain is always creating some story that you're living. And once you start to harness the power of that story, once you start to harness the power of your past, the power of connecting with others, the soul family, how to share your everything that we've talked about actually in this whole episode. Once you take all these things and you start to galvanize it together, you integrate it into your life, your beingness, you start to realize that living is a lot easier. Yeah. It gets a lot easier.
Right. You know what? I think you just came up with the topic for our next episode. I think we should do something on co-creation. I think we can really get into it when we discuss that.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love co-creation. That's that's my baby. I love doing that. So yeah, I definitely would love to talk about that in another episode. And I would also love to have a conversation with you about different ways of perceiving reality.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's our world offers us so many different ways to interpret. And I think if we have an awesome conversation about being able to switch those paradigms on the fly, we could share some really groundbreaking information.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Multidimensionality and co-creation. That is our next episode. I'm super excited about it. Where can people find you, man? Like, what if I were looking for you? Where would I look?
All right, so there's a few places you can reach me. I'm on Spotify if you want to hear my podcast. That's Dupe's Closet on Spotify. I also have an Instagram, so that's gonna have my soul story, and that's Dupes_Closet at Instagram. So you can find me on that. I also have my place as a metaphysician practitioner through Universal You with my boy Tyron on his website. So I'm sure he'll link that. So if you guys want a session with me, or if you just want to talk, we could work it out, man. I have counseling sessions. And we don't have to talk about the past. We could talk about anything. I want to connect. So if you're out there and you're listening and you want to have a conversation, look me up. I'm down to talk. I'll talk your ear off, man. And I'll listen. I'll do that too. I think that's all the places to find me. Hopefully you'll find me more on YouTube. I would love to do more episodes with Universal You and make this another place to be. I have a YouTube account. It's also called Dupe's Closet. It's kind of random on there right now. There's there's a lot of random stuff on there. I also have another YouTube account called Jarrel Pays Attention. There's not going to be any metaphysics on there. It's just going to be me and my wife and me paying attention to whatever she's doing that day. It's like 1-minute clips. So if you just want to see my life, there's a way for that too. It's called Jarrel Pays Attention. So thank you guys for having me.
You got a Patreon, don't you?
Oh yeah, I also have a Patreon. So if you like my soul story and you want to help me create even more soul story, $1 a month will give you access to all my artworks, and a place to kind of like hot link to all my other stuff. And I'll probably be putting a lot more new things in there and putting a bunch of art, but my Patreon is Dupe's Closet on Patreon. $3. I think it's $3 for the bottom tier. You'll be a seeker, and I will hook you up with all the things I could possibly give you. But really, the money is going to just being able to fund me so I can continue writing this story. I am a wounded veteran, and so I live off of a fixed income. So anything that I get helps. And thank you so much for hearing me out and giving me such a platform to speak. Thank you.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Talking to you is always deeply insightful. I never know what's going to surface when we talk. It's like a channeling session, and I'm just glad that what came through is enlightening. And I definitely feel like I learned a lot.
And definitely, I feel like I learned a lot from you as well. And for myself, like sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. It just says it. Yeah, it's a channeling. I can't wait to catch it on the replay because I'm sure I've said some things that I gotta catch it on the replay.
idea. I'm gonna use this for studying purposes, I swear. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. And as always, love yourselves.